It does make a lot of sense from the player's point of view to cash in when they get the chance, right? If you have a player that's having a career year, he might only have a chance to get that one payday once in his career. The question is as a general manager, you generally have to avoid guys like that. You know what? We'll make question of the video right now early on. What contract can you say where there was a guy that kind of had a career year, then he got the big payday? What one of those contracts work out? Ever. Like, it's almost exclusively none of them. Honestly, I find that only giving the top players in league paydays actually generally works out in the long run anyway. But welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe button, it would be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are already supporting me as well. It is very humbling. Now, where does this lead us back to? Well, Kiefer Sherwood. The Vancouver Canucks, I've argued again, they have a chance to be quite good if they just make the right decisions. And what do I mean by that? They have their first round selection this year. It actually might make sense for them to just be bad, get in the top 5, and get a pick. If you have an option to trade Kiefer Sherwood, how much do you think that you can get for him? If there's a lot of teams that are interested, and if you could sign him to a contract, you potentially could get a ton for this player. You could have 2 first-round selections. And I know a lot of people they want their teams to win, and they want their teams to win fast, but that's just not the way it works in the modern NHL. I am an advocate of trading this player when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. I think he is going to command way too much from the Canucks. I think that they are going to be overpaying not a completely replaceable player. Kiefer Sherwood is a good quality NHL hockey player, but he's not a superstar. He's not a core or even a cornerstone piece. So I think that they have to move on from this player. And especially with these current reports that we are hearing come out is just, I don't know, man. I just think the Vancouver Canucks, for the best of their organization, should walk away from this player. And here we go with the very interesting quote from Nick Kyprios. He is looking for $5 million or north of that on a 6-year deal. I'm not sure if that's too rich for Ottawa, but when you talk about a rugged type player like that, there will be a lot of teams looking at Vancouver for Kiefer, Kyprios said, close quote. Okay, so again, the first thing that you have to do is run, okay? You have to run from this. Here's the thing. Even if the $5 million doesn't scare you, the 6 years should scare you on a replaceable player. Like, let's be honest here. Now, it's not my intention to completely disrespect Kiefer Sherwood, but when you have a player that is, I believe, replaceable, I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of this at all. If you look over his point per game, last year he had 40 points and 19 goals. The year before that for Nashville, he had 27 points and 10 goals. This year, I mean, admittedly, he's doing very, very well. 12 goals in 25 games. I mean, he's on pace for 30 goals. Now, the question is this an outlier or is this what he is? Answer that question honestly with yourselves. To me, this is very clearly an outlier of a player. This player is already 30 years old. And I'm not saying he couldn't pot 18 or 19 goals a season. Of course he would. But is that a player that you want to pay $5 million for? You can get guys on the the scrap heap that make that like $1 million that could pot you 17 goals if they have a good season. I am a big fan of paying your top players and trying to get depth in different ways. Value players, young players coming in that can be an impact player in your organization. You could even argue that Braden Coots could be that over the next coming seasons. Overpaying players like this is actually what holds organizations back. Now, I'm not saying that that players like this don't hold any value. I want to be clear with what I'm saying. Of course they do, but this is just not a good move for Vancouver. And here we go with the poll on Canucks Daily. Do you think Kiefer Sherwood is worth $5 million or more annually on his next contract? Of course, I voted no. 50.8% people voted yes, and 49.2% voted no. So Canucks Nation here is quite split on this, and I am strictly in the no category. I just don't see this as being a good move. Plus, if they trade him, you kind of want to tank a little bit more, if you understand what I mean. So if you trade a player like this away, it will help you lose. Like, I genuinely look at the Canucks right now and I'm like, you might just want to pack it in, get that pick inside the top pick. Can you imagine if it's Vancouver and Calgary in the top 5, a very, very, elite top 5 in the NHL draft? This could be a huge difference for both organizations. And then we talk about what exactly could the Vancouver Canucks get for him. And this is what I keep on talking about. I think the Canucks can genuinely get a first-round selection. If they're willing to send this player anywhere, a rugged goal-scoring player like Kiefer Sherwood, they can get a lot. And we have another report to go over here. Quote, and this is from Pagnotta. I am hearing a first-round pick plus for Kiefer Sherwood, Pagnotta said, close quote. That is excellent stuff. That's exactly what I would be asking for. Here's the thing. Even if you don't end up getting a prospect and a second-round pick other than the first-round pick, the number one thing that I would be looking for is the first-round selection for the Vancouver Canucks, right? Then you would have several first-round selections, and that would help you in your rebuild, and especially with the top first-round pick that they're going to have probably, 5th overall if they keep on losing. Because I will always tell you guys that I think rebuilds can go quickly depending on, obviously, the moves that you make, and depending on the players that you draft. Look at this right here. The 2026 NHL draft, they have their first round selection. They have their second round selection. If you add another first round pick and at least a B-level prospect from this, they can speed up your rebuild like crazy. I personally think when it comes to Quinn Hughes, I think Quinn Hughes is gone. I don't think that he is going to stick around the Vancouver Canucks. I think that they also, again, need to sit him down and have a discussion and say, buddy, we kind of got to move you too. Then they could probably get another first-round pick for this player, right? If they can get a hold of a Steenberg, a Gavin McKenna, a Veerhoff, one of those players can transform your organization. Can you imagine if they get the first overall selection? Honestly, I would prefer if either Vancouver or Calgary got the first overall selection. I just think it makes a lot of sense for them as well. Obviously, a lot of Canucks fans, when it comes to Quinn Hughes, are going to be pretty sad that it ended up being this way, and I understand that he's an elite defenseman. I totally get that, but you have to pick a lane. Okay, the Vancouver Canucks need to pick a lane. What is the choice? What are you going to do for the next 5 years? Are you going to start a genuine ground up rebuild to win a Stanley Cup, or are you going to just completely spin your tires and do absolutely nothing, right? At the end of the day, what do you want the Canucks to do? That's the real question here. Anyways, guys, I'm going to end the video here. If you can make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, and make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.